Sutra.
Good afternoon, everybody. We continue with our look at the Lankavatara Sutra and chapter 13. The chapter is titled Nirvana. Hint, not after the band. Then said Mahamati to the Blessed One, "Pray, tell us, Blessed One, about Nirvana." The Blessed One said, the term Nirvana is used with many different meanings by many different people, but these people can be divided into 4 groups. There are 1, people who are suffering or who are afraid of suffering and who think of nirvana. There are 2, the philosophers who try to discriminate nirvana. And there are 3, the class of disciples who think of nirvana in relationship to themselves. And finally, there is 4, the nirvana of the Buddhas. So, asked to describe what is nirvana. Literally, it means blowing out or extinguishing. It points to cessation or not creating. But here, Mahamati's asking for more teaching. And the Buddha says, well, it's different people use the term differently. And there's a lot of ways to misunderstand what nirvana is. And so to get to the nirvana of the Buddhas, he sets out a little bit of a course for us, which we'll be spending time with over the coming days. And it's a little bit of a stripping away process, actually. There's a lot in here that has to do with don't see it this way, be careful of seeing this way, don't get stuck here, don't get stuck there. And as all of us who are deeply practicing this path have come to confront pretty quickly, if you're not thinking about something the right way, if you're not perceiving clearly and in alignment with the actual teaching, this can derail things for quite a while. In fact, most of what the training has to do with, I would say, ascending the mountain training is really eliminating erroneous views. It's not so much trying to add the right way of doing things so much as it is kind of letting go and ridding oneself of folly. And I think we can all think of moments in our own lives, the lives of people we love dearly and others, that are living out the consequences of just their way of seeing the world and themselves. And it ain't always pretty. If we think about some of the most challenging times that we've had to face as individuals, say, and if you really interrogate what's going on there, there's the event or the circumstance, there's the conditions of the moment, and that's one thing, and that's not a small thing. But the actual suffering comes from the way that we're relating to it, the way we work with it, the way we allow it to hijack us. And if we don't train when things are relatively workable, okay, it becomes very difficult to try to start training when you're in the scalding hot water. So this is something that I notice over and over again. There are certain folks that they come around when, like Halley's Comet, it's on a predictable pattern, and they encounter a little bit much, a little bit tough. Well, that Zen stuff, that seemed to help. Suddenly they come around again. They tend to be kind of shiny about it, ironically, like the Halley's Comet itself. They leave some trail, they leave a bunch of dust, and then they go. Good enough, thanks, Cap. Off they go, and then regularly, predictably, they can come around again, right? Now, there's a different quality to a practitioner who has an internal resonance with the Dharma. It's not simply a matter of responding to external circumstance that drives one to practice. That can be the case, but that's not the only way it works. There's something inside that's innate, that's inherent, that wishes to be more fully expressed and encountered and revealed and lived out of. And even when objectively, things are doing pretty good. The gig is stable, say, your domestic situation is more or less workable, maybe you even enjoy more days than not. But still, a real practitioner won't just start coasting. Now that the water is not so scalding, I can really dig in, is the appropriate response. So, the Buddha points out, firstly, those who are suffering or who fear suffering. Okay? This is one group of folks who misperceive or misunderstanding nirvana. Buddha continues, those who are suffering or who fear suffering think of nirvana as an escape and as a recompense. They imagine that nirvana consists in the future annihilation of the senses and the sense minds. They are not aware that universal mind and nirvana are one, and that this life and death world of nirvana and this life and death world and the world of nirvana are not to be separated. These ignorant ones, instead of meditating on the imageless of nirvana, speak of different ways of emancipation. Different ways of emancipation. Being ignorant of or not understanding the teachings of the Tathagatas, they cling to the notion of nirvana that is outside what is seen of the mind itself, and thus go on rolling themselves along with the wheel of life and death. I like that. They go on rolling themselves along. So let's try to open this up a little bit. So those who are suffering and those who fear suffering. Okay? As I was saying, the suffering, when you're in the thick of it, it's real and it's personal and it's it's right there. And it tends to distort our view unless we're very strong in our practice. Okay. You have to understand that when any of us are reacting from a strongly agitated emotional state, okay, it's almost impossible for good karma to come from that. Even if we stumble upon the right thing to do, quote unquote, it will be rare, right? But even if you happen to accidentally alight upon a correct response, if it's coming from that disordered place, the karmic consequences of it will not be pure. This is why it's very important to know how to stop. And I mean how to stop in the moment when you're about to not stop. Okay? When that impulse to not stop is very strong. So strong it seems like a law of nature. This is going to happen here, right? To be able to really go, wait a second, and to just not is an incredibly empowering thing. Now, when you have strong emotions, let's just assume that you have them for good reason. There's a reason why you're feeling that way. You don't have to make an enemy of the fact that you have feelings, folks, okay? But they have a purpose to serve, and it isn't that much. It's a clue, okay? It's not power, and it's not the place to make decisions or actions from, but it's a deep part of you, let's say, letting yourself know something's not okay here. So it's important to acknowledge that, but then don't play with it, let alone fuel it and foster it, and God help us all wind an identity around it. And that's what's happening today for whatever crazy reasons. Those that can embody the bolder and broader outrage get more likes and clicks. They go viral. But don't buy into it. Living your life from outrage will not serve you well. Those who are suffering and those who fear suffering, okay? You might not be the frog in the boiling water, let's say, but you might know what it feels like and have the echo and shadow of that suffering kind of follow you around, like your shadow kind of chasing you. You're always afraid that thing's just going to rise right up and grab you again. Oh yeah, I'm fine right now, but at any second. And it's possible to live like that, knowingly or not. So even when it's a beautiful day and things are okay, you can still find reasons to be very afraid if you really want to. And this fear is not helpful. And further, it's not true. It might be real for you if you create it. The universe will bow. But if you find a way to be able to unlatch yourself from it, you'll realize it's an optional facade. There's healthy fear, which we should respect, but there's this ruminating, really self-creating mechanism that uses this fear as its base. There are many other mechanisms besides fear. I mean, you can wind a particularly unhelpful personality around feeling you're superior to everyone else. That's another irritating way to be. You don't make a lot of friends that way, but you might end up as a CEO. Bad trade, by the way. So the Buddha is saying you can be in the soup and it can be really too much and be difficult. Or there are people that really aren't in the soup, but mentally they are anyway. And people in this category that are deeply suffering or that are afraid of suffering, okay? this karmic habit energy of fear, right? Which is the opposite, really, of unshakable vow. Confidence, this unshakability of the vow of the bodhisattva. It has to do with, regardless of the content and regardless of the apparent, holding to the true and holding to the real. Regardless of whether or not you get praise or blame or fame or infamy or whatever. Anyway, these people tend to view, the sutra says, nirvana as an escape or as a compensation. Now the escape, of course, that means, when you're really in a lot of pain and suffering, perhaps you think your zazen is going to be, I'm here just to stop the pain. I wish to just escape this pain. That's what nirvana must be. It's my escape hatch. It's my get out of suffering free Dharma card. I just need a few more punches, man, and I'm good. I'm going to sit zazen and get another punch. And then I'm going to turn this ticket in and I'm going to get my compensation. I sat. I did my periods now. We made a deal. It was a deal. Where's our deal? But we think that way. I mean, that sounds funny when you audiate it like that, but we can think that way. When someone who's in that kind of mode, that sort of transactional kind of modality, right? You look at your zazen as an escape. Maybe thinking about nirvana seems abstract. Let's make it a little closer to the home we're in at the moment. You can see your zazen as an escape. It's not good. It's not acceptable. No escape. It's not some road to some compensation plan. It's not your Zen pension plan. These folks tend to think that it'll be a reward that comes in. But it comes in by the future annihilation of the senses and the sense minds. And this is, whether it's an escape or the compensation, as the sutra says it, the way that it's thought about, like how does that happen? Well, there's this annihilation of the senses and the sense minds. Now I can hear some of you thinking quite loudly, well, that's silly, I would never do that. I'm not interested in annihilating my senses. Yes, you are. How do I know? Because you're sitting there like this. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're trying to shut yourself off is what you're doing. Look, zazen is not like shutting yourself off, okay? You're not burrowing into some dark hole of samadhi somewhere and trying to hide there. Not acceptable, dear one, okay? There's nothing down that dark hole that's going to help you. There's no dividend forthcoming. It will not do you well. Don't let the maybe philosophical nature of the language let you bypass this. If you're really hurting and you use your zazen to try to shut off, you're not doing it right. Okay? There's no freedom down that road. And God help you if you actually get good at doing that. You don't want to do that. Okay? So this annihilation of the senses and the sense minds. What does nirvana mean, after all? Didn't we just say it means blowing out or cessation or ending? So rather than this view that the purpose or point or objective of your zazen is to annihilate your senses, these folks are not aware that the universal mind and nirvana are one. It's not about annihilating the senses. It's about realizing mind. Awaken the senses. Liberate the senses. Wield the senses in self-fulfilling and other-fulfilling samadhi. Play freely with them. Not shut them off. Not try to corral them so that they only see pretty things or Zen things, whatever you think that would be. Awaken the senses. Liberate the senses. Realize mind. And these folks that think that your zazen is to shut yourself off, now you might not think that's what you're doing, but if your body starts relentlessly moving you into this blackout space, that's what you're doing. Don't put up with it. Well, what else am I supposed to do? Don't do that. How about stay awake? Don't we call this awakening? Right? Awaken. Realize. It's not self-anesthesia. Frankly, there are more effective ways that I also don't recommend. So this universal mind and nirvana are one. The world of life and death, the world of the great matter, is not separate from nirvana. This universal mind is beyond name. No name, no words can catch it. And therefore, the Buddha uses many, many different kinds of names to try to point at it. And interestingly, as I've said many times, in the sutra, if you look at it carefully over its entirety, the Buddha will use very, very different ways to describe this universal mind depending on the way the listener is hooked, depending on where they're stuck. Clear light, non-conceptual, luminous, self-aware, blissful, empty, Buddha nature, wisdom mind that is the Tathagata Garbha of suchness and thusness. There, that covers it. But actually, each of those points to something different. If a person is particularly stuck into the blank fog of numbing out Zen, which is not acceptable, then you need to realize bliss body, clear, light, bliss mind. Or if someone's too stuck in that, realize the unborn. So this truth of universal mind, of your mind, of mind, you, and nirvana are not separate, and nirvana is not separate from the world of life and death. The world of life and death is samsara. So samsara is universal mind. Samsara is clear light, non-conceptual, luminous, self-aware, blissful, empty, Buddha nature, wisdom. That's what samsara is. That's what has to be realized. So instead of the sutra, the translation we have says, instead of meditating on realizing the imagelessness of nirvana, which I might say it differently, instead of realizing the unborn mind, realizing yourself, realizing true nature, they talk of different ways of emancipation. Here it's very interesting what the Buddha says in this translation. They talk about it. They speculate about it. There's words and essays and books, and there's an app for that now, and you can have a membership if you pay a small fee. But the truth is just right here. It's exactly this. So this business of the senses, be very careful about using your zazen to shut down. It's been a trend of late. I've been trying to work with people as appropriate in actually liberating the senses, waking the senses up. Where's the clear light bliss body here, man? It's not in this dark tunnel. Of course, the dark tunnel is it too. I know. But don't be satisfied with that. So they cling to a notion of nirvana that is outside what is seen of the mind. In other words, they take this and make it a fixed thing that's somehow outside somewhere. Somewhere over the rainbow, there's nirvana. Right? It's always a day away. It's always a period away, or a koan away, or a retreat away, or some particularity has to be this way instead of that, and then I'll be happy for the rest of my life. You would think that would be just a folly for the 20-somethings. Fair enough, perhaps, but no. No, just because you spent decades in the casino losing to the slot machines over and over doesn't mean you've realized it's a rigged game just yet, does it? Particularly if you happen to win a time or two, just enough to keep you, right? You have to be supra-aware. Dare I say, ferociously present. Not angrily, but severe. Manjushri wields that sword very precisely. You should be sitting very precisely. Be particularly skeptical of what you think of as your good habits. Okay? These good habits, like I know how to get through a session. Ooh, watch out. We're not just trying to get through this thing, I hope. I know it feels that way at moments, I get it. But don't play with that. I would rather you fail impeccably than get through and fake some kind of success. Because it's real. You can work with what's real. You cannot work with this fallacy, fantasy. You've got to let it go. You can't build a foundation in the air. It can't be done. This isn't unique to you. This isn't just some you thing. This has been going on since beings have evolved sophisticated enough consciousness to realize themselves. Which means you have got to have a consciousness that's evolved enough to see dualistically. That's why dualistic vision is noble. Because if that doesn't happen, you can't then transcend it and realize oneness. So it's really there are no small things at Sesshin. There is no detail which is irrelevant and can just be left untended. Don't do that. And I'm talking about the contents of your mind and the way, more particularly really, the way you relate to them. You could be someone who could crank yourself into an impressive full lotus, let's say, and sit there unflinchingly for period after period after period while the mere mortals indulge in kinhin that you don't need. And you can be doing that the whole time, reifying self, 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 self. Look at me. better for you to sit in a chair and get over yourself. Literally, get over yourself. Drop that self. Nobody's keeping score. I'm not. I ain't got time for that. You are the master. Not me, not Buddha, not anybody on that lineage wall. You. So take up that mastery. And I mean breath by breath, step by step, chant by chant, instant by instant. Don't think of this as trying to shut yourself off. When other traditions critique Zen, what they're often critiquing is this mistake. And it's a fair critique because a lot of Zen people think this is what you're supposed to do. You're just supposed to go into some imperturbable fog. And in some way, this is going to pay a dividend someday. But it's a false hope. I've been in the presence of really thoroughly realized people, and there's something that's going on when they're sitting that makes you feel like there's an electricity in the room. They're so present. They're not going to react when you go around. Maybe they will. But this is like, it's like a live thing. It's a dragon there. I mean, I've never been face to face with an actual tiger in nature, thank goodness. But I imagine it's something like that. I've seen them in the zoo. And even behind that glass wall is pretty spooky. Anybody been close to that kind of, or a shark? It's something like that. It's not mean, it's not aggressive, it's not angry, but it's a serious force you're dealing with. And it's not that person's personality. It's somebody who no longer is perturbing the truth of themselves with false view or mundane foolishness. It's as though the universe itself opens its eyes and looks at you. I know that look. And I'm grateful for it. But what I saw in those eyes of those teachers is not some annihilation of the senses and some gutting it out. No amount of shutting things down will ever produce that kind of power. And you need power. Vajrasattva, the power of the Buddha. Is clinging to the notion of nirvana outside what is seen of the mind as though it is some kind of fixed thing, thus rolling themselves along with the wheel of life and death. You know, when I was a kid, I remember we used to go to there's a little hill over the way here, and normal kids would grab the sled and go down. Of course, what I would do is lay down and roll. That was great fun, actually. I get that image of whee, rolling, you know, rolling themselves along with the wheel of life and death. Have you ever noticed that image that we have in the entryway here? Yama, it's got the jaws, that's death. And in the jaws is this wheel, and in the wheel there are these 6 realms, you see. I'm sure you've heard of them, I hope you have. From the coldest frozen hell to the hot spitting hatred hell, to the realm of unceasing, unquenchable desire and thirst, to the realm of just pure instincts. Skipping the human for a moment to the warring titans, those who are the achievers who are going to make it happen, going to do it, go, fighting to get that ambrosia to become a god, as if that would help. The lower heavens of coarser pleasure, the higher heavens of subtler pleasure, and the deities that reside there, all the way up to the formless realm, which interestingly isn't so different from that cold, frozen one, is it? And this thing just cycles over and over. Now instinct, now desire, now contesting, now pleasure. When will you be sick of this game? When will you be willing to say, this is just stupid? It doesn't matter if I'm in the casino and I play blackjack or poker or the slot machines. You will lose. Guaranteed. Every one of those realms is essentially the same. Wrong. But in each one of those modes of imprisonment, in each one of those styles of suffering that we may visit multiple times a day, these are not esoteric realms off in the ether somewhere, folks. This is your daily life, okay? No matter how many times you roll yourself through them, there's always a bodhisattva that appears in that realm. There's always an escape hatch, and it's always imminently clear, intimately present, readily available. Why? Because it's you. You are nothing other than it. Master Dogen, in this fascicle entitled Body and Mind Study of the Way, says it like this. Now, Master Dogen says, mountains, rivers, earth, sun, the moon, and stars are mind. Mountains, rivers, earth, the sun, the moon, the stars, and you yourself, all those realms are mind. It's not about shutting everything down or accruing this one, eschewing that one. Just realize mountains, rivers, earth, sun, moon, stars, you yourself are mind. Just at this moment, Dogen asks, what is it that appears directly in front of you? At this moment, what is it that appears in front of you? This is the thing. It always, if it doesn't come down to your daily life, you're not getting it. At this moment, what appears right in front of you? Can you even see what you're seeing? Can you really hear what you're hearing? Do you really feel what you're feeling? I encourage you not to take for granted that the answer is yes. Interrogate this very carefully. Are you seeing what you're seeing, or are you seeing what you think about what you're seeing? It's not the same thing. At this very moment, Dogen says, what is it that appears directly in front of you? When we say mountains, rivers, and earth, we do not merely mean the mountains and rivers and earth where you're standing. The sun, the moon, the stars, as seen by humans and by gods, are not the same. The mountains and rivers and stars seen by humans and by devas are not the same. The views of various beings differ wildly. These realms, by the way, are all completely intertwined. They're all immanent and present. It's not like one's, here in Toledo, and one's over there in Boston, and one's over here in Vermont, and one's over there in Texas. They're all right now. And in this very moment, what different creatures and beings see is different. What hell realm have you visited today? What Asuriya warrior journey have you taken in these walls? Sitting there, looking like a Buddha. Views about one mind differ as well, yet these views themselves are nothing but mind. Well, I think it's this. Well, no, I think it's that. Well, now really it ought to be this. Well, have you considered the following? Well, how could you say that? That offends me. Well, you're offended. Fuck you. That stuff is it too, honestly. But can you realize it? Can you break free from it? Have you earned the right to play freely, like for real? Or are you just trapped? Is this inside or outside? Does it come or does it go? Is there more of it at birth or not? This mind, is it inside or outside? This mind, does it come or does it leave? Does it arrive or does it depart? This mind, is there more of it when you're born? Mind, is there less of it at your death? Or not? How do we understand this birth and death, views of birth and death, all of this, everything in here, all the snares and entanglements and traps are just merely a moment or two of mind. A moment or two of mind is a moment of mountains, of rivers, of earth, or two moments of mountains and rivers and earth. Because mountains and rivers and earth and so forth neither exist nor do they not exist. They are not large, neither are they small. They are not attainable nor are they unattainable. They are not knowable nor are they unknowable. They are not penetrable nor are they impenetrable. They are not beyond name. They are clear light, non-conceptual, luminous, self-aware, blissful, empty Buddha nature, wisdom mind, Tathagata Garbha of suchness, thusness. In short, dear one, they are nothing other than yourself. So, do not use your zazen overtly or subtly as some kind of annihilation of the senses. Be very careful. You must scrutinize your practice more diligently. Do not allow yourself to just slip into a stupor. Do not allow yourself to slip into some heroic fight. Don't drift off into pleasures of the lower or higher realms. Don't sit there just coursing with impulse. Don't play with the craving, the anger, or the depression. Rather, see that there's no one there. Just mind. Realize it. May it be so.